side, short drop, looks right, throws over the middle, caught, touchdown, San Francisco 49ers. JaMycal Hasty. I think in the business, you former players call it an angle route.
Now, back to the morning roast with Bonte and Shasky.
Paul Allen, Minnesota Vikings Radio Network. The angle route, the Texas route, we love to run on that. And by the way, Beyonce's album pretty damn good.
It is good.
Pretty good. It's the only thing Chesga doesn't say bye-bye to. Paul Allen also had to call on Danny Gray when Danny Gray was hitting the gritty. Really, you want to come here and hit the gritty? Like the gritty originated in Minnesota. Relax, Paul Allen. Please, pump the brakes. Everybody's been hitting the gritty. It's not Justin Jefferson's gritty.
Did you see Friday night?
No.
You see what the Giants did?
Oh, yes, I did see what they did. Oh, my gosh.
Speaking of hitting dances that are outdated.
They keep hitting the dab. So Mark Willard's been like, oh, man, how do you make the Giants cool again? Well, Mark Willard and I went at it when they were 9 games over 500 that series against the Braves. I was like, Mark, this team has no swagger. No goal change, no bat flips. That's cool. That's another way of saying cool, Mark. Jock Peterson hitting the dab multiple times Friday night. That's not cool. That's not how you become cool again.
Dab on them folks.
While the Braves are trying,
What is that?
trotting out dudes like Vaughn Grissom and Ronald Acuna Jr. and Dansby Swanson and Matt Olson, and the Mets they've got just a lineup littered with stars, and Dodgers and the Dodgers and the Yankees are doing. The Giants are out here hitting dab.
Dab on them folks.
Even the Orioles got exciting players.
Yeah,
that catcher,
I know.
baller, right? Mountcastle's hitting the ball.
Bonte.
The Giants are not cool.
I don't even want to go down this road.
They're hitting the dab in 2022, Shasky.
So why don't you ask that question before we hit the break that you wanted to ask me?
All right. I'm going to ask you this question. By the way, Grizzlies have emerged as a team in the Western Conference who are in on Kevin Durant. The Grizzlies are in on Kevin Durant, apparently, according to John Serradio.
For chaos, I want that.
Kevin Durant, John Morant, Jared Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks.
Well, they'd have to trade somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. Desmond Bane, you got to keep Bane. I got to get Brooks out of there. But Kevin Durant on the Grizzlies, that's box office.
Who are you?
That's box office.
That would be great.
That would be great, right?
I would want that.
Nixon on Donovan Mitchell.
I still don't know if that makes them better than the Warriors, though. Because I know they would have to give up a lot. Jaren Jackson's out for 6 months. Ed, we can talk about that.
But Kevin Durant, that news is out there. Kevin Durant, the Grizzlies in on Kevin Durant. We'll have more about that later in the week, of course, and maybe we'll get back into it in the 7 o'clock hour. But before we get to your 12-year anniversary, I want to ask you, Shasky, because Brock Purdy is getting all the love. He's getting all the flowers.
Sean Hill's birth child?
Look, man, I bet a lot of money on Iowa State football over the last 3 years. Brock Purdy's okay. They had a great running back there at Iowa State.
You sound like someone who's lost a lot of money
listen,
on Iowa State.
Brock Purdy's okay. You hear it on the broadcast. Oh, man, he's so accurate and decisive and this and that. Dude, Brock Purdy should be a number 3 quarterback this year. All right? If he's backing up Trey Lance, I am concerned. Nate Sudfeld. Are you really high on Nate Sudfeld?
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Number 2.
Who's the backup in Kansas City?
Chad Henne.
Exactly. Come on.
But
career loser.
Is it the worst thing? Because the Niners have re-signed Deebo Samuel. Bosa's going to get his money at some point. I'm just asking out loud. Is it the worst thing in the world to have Jimmy Garoppolo as your number 2?
If you soak up so much of the salary cap to where they can't roll over part of Bosa's money, then yeah, it is the worst. Because the last thing you want to do is screw up any opportunity to pay Nick Bosa. And I'm not even saying the two are correlated. I'm saying if they were, then I would be totally out on that. Yeah, that would be the worst thing.
It doesn't feel like it, though. It feels like Bosa will get paid after the season.
It does.
Deebo's already gotten paid. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a free agent after the season. Deal's going to expire. He's got 1 year left on the deal. I know he's got a lot of money, and nobody wants a $26 million backup quarterback. But if I had to go win a football game and Trey gets hurt, I trust Jimmy Garoppolo a hell of a lot more than I trust Brock Purdy or Nate Sudfeld. And the quarterback room, I do believe, is better with Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld. But, Brock Purdy, I get it. He's a number 3 quarterback right now. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He's 6'1". How's that going to translate into a regular season game?
Well, look, okay. Whenever we have these conversations about backup quarterbacks, there's 2 different conversations. There's one is my quarterback's gone for the whole year, and I have to go, let's say, 8, 9, 10 games
Right.
with a backup, 95% of teams are screwed.
Right.
Okay?
No
the Nick
doubt.
Foles thing was an outlier. Would we all agree?
Yeah.
And that happened so late in the year. It's an outlier, though, for the most part. What we're really saying is, if my guy misses 3 weeks, can I go 1-2, 2-1? Right? And I think you can with either one of those quarterbacks.
Can you with Brock Purdy or Sudfeld?
I mean, look, they won a couple of games with Nick Mullins, and he's like a fringe, player.
This team is loaded. The 49ers are loaded. But behind the offensive line that we're all concerned about, and by the way, Mike McGlinchey, knee injuries, not practicing this week.
Not good.
That's not occurring.
No, that's not good.
Colton McKivitz will probably be your starting right tackle going
That's
into week
not
1.
good.
I'm not high on that. I'm very, very concerned.
Are you high on Brendel either? I mean, you're looking at basically if it ends up that McGlinchey's out, you're looking at 4 new starters.
Yes.
That's wild with a basically a rookie quarterback.
I know PFF said Aaron Banks looked good.
I'm very worried about him in general, and I will believe it when I see it through the body of the season.
The Vikings ran a lot of games Saturday, a lot of twists, a lot of stunts, and he looked lost. He looked lost. Like he was blocking air at times. I'm concerned about this offensive line. Mike McGlinchey, not good right now with the knee injury. Not good. And then you add in Nate Sudfeld or Brock Purdy behind the shaky offensive line. It's one thing with Trey Lance as a second-year quarterback. We don't want him getting killed behind a porous offensive line and a shaky offensive line. That's the worst thing for a young quarterback, but at least Trey can escape and can maneuver in the pocket. Can Brock Purdy at Sudfeld? I don't know. So Jimmy has no suitors right now. I'm sorry. We've heard from multiple people in Cleveland that the Browns don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. The New York Jets don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. Is it the worst thing just to give him the playbook, say, hey, Jimmy, you're the number 2?
I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing, but it just feels like to me that ship has already sailed. They've made that organizational decision. Now, on the Kawakami TK Show podcast, Jed York kind of alluded to this, saying that he would, pay to keep Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster. More and more, I've come to the realization, I really, truly believe, and I have nothing but my gut. This is I don't pretend to have sources or anything. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that John Lynch and Jed York were the deciding factors on keeping Jimmy Garoppolo in the quarterback spot as QB1 last year. I truly believe that.
You believe Shanahan wanted to go Trey Lance last season?
I do, and I think that they all had a conversation, and I'm not saying that they overruled him. What I'm saying is that if things are equal, I do believe that that there is some input by both John Lynch and Jed York that helped sway Kyle Shanahan's opinion. I really believe Kyle wanted to go to Trey, whether it was day one, at some point during the season. And again, I'm going off just my gut. This is me reading the tea leaves off all the things that I've heard. I have a feeling that Jed and John Lynch were the big Jimmy supporters in that, if we were talking about that triangle of power.
And when you add, and let's add some more context to it, Shanahan multiple times mentioned that Washington game at New Orleans when Robert Griffin III was a rookie.
Yeah.
And he cited that game multiple times saying, we could put a plan together like that for a rookie quarterback where RG3 threw the ball, 20 to 26 times, and they lit New Orleans up. They ran the ball hard, play action pass, couple deep shots down in the Superdome. He referenced that game multiple times when he came to Trey Lance. So I'm with you. I believe Shanahan, he was close, and he leaked it out this year in training camp saying, yeah, we had a quarterback battle for a brief period of time. A lot of people last year said, oh, there was no QB battle. It was Jimmy Garoppolo's job from day one. Shanahan just mentioned it this offseason, this training camp, that, yeah, there was a little battle. There's some competition there for the quarterback one job, so I'm with you there. But here's what Jed York said on the TK podcast. What you're referencing here, last week, Tim Kawakami Athletic had Jed York on this podcast. Really a fun listen. Here's what Jed York said about Jimmy Garoppolo being on the roster.
I mean, I've said this before, you can't have enough good quarterbacks and good football players. And again, I'm not going to get into roster discussions and what John and Kyle want to do, but I will support them in sort of anything that they want to make this team as good as it can possibly be. I watched it with Joe and Steve, and I realized the salary cap is different today than having no salary cap. But I mean, we've said it before, we're happy to keep Jimmy. We're happy to have him on the roster. And if that's the case, then that's the case.
Would you be happy to have Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster as your backup quarterback?
In a vacuum, yeah, but there's more nuance to it. There's money that's involved, and there's a domino effect. Whether it's tangible or not, the people that know the salary cap are saying that they could use some of the money, whether they sign him next year, they could backdate some of the Nick Bosa money so where it spreads out over multiple years. And so not having Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster for his amount of money is actually financial benefits the 49ers long term in terms of how they want to set up the roster. So I think it's worth getting rid of him.
It's worth getting rid of him.
For the money part.
Yeah, for the money part. But it doesn't sound like they're going to re-sign Bosa anytime soon from what we've heard. It feels like they're going to wait till the offseason, right?
Yeah, but they're saying that if you sign an extension at the end of this year, right, or at some point in the offseason, you can backdate some of that money and have it, through a guarantee. So where it because I guess the way the salary cap works is your salary cap for last year is rolled into this year and vice versa. It's basically a 2-year cap. It's very complicated, and I'm probably not explaining it the way that I should on the air, and I apologize.
No, it's very complicated. But it feels like they can afford to have Jimmy on a roster for this year with his expiring deal.
Why? Is that what you want?
I'm asking. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I look at Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld, and I'm seeing all the hype for them.
Look, Jimmy's better than those two. Like,
he's better than those
I
two.
agree with.
And this is a Super
in a
Bowl,
vacuum.
And this is a Super Bowl type roster. So in case something awry happens with Trey Lance, we don't know. I think Trey's going to be healthy, and I think Trey's going to be dynamic. He's a dark horse MVP candidate, according to all the Vegas books and everything. I think Trey's going to be just fine. But things happen. Things happen on the football field. And things happened to Trey last year where we got hurt. Preseason game with the finger, Arizona Cardinals game with the knee. Maybe the shoulder got banged up a bit, but he couldn't go. I'm just asking, would it be the worst thing in the world to have Jimmy Garoppolo as your number 2? All things considered, because I'm not a big Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld guy, man. I know that they're getting a lot of hype for practice stuff. A lot of, oh man, can you win a game? I don't. I'd rather have Jimmy as the backup. I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying. Would Jimmy be okay with that? Who knows? After all the strangeness of him being at the facility and working out before the team, and they're looking to trade him. They've told him that they're going to trade him.
So you're not worried about anything for Trey Lance in terms of like the clamoring if he does struggle behind the scenes or within that locker room?
I think Trey is mentally strong. Trey is mentally strong.
No, I know
he
that
knows
you think
that his
that.
team. I think there would be nothing there. Now there would be noise created outside by media members, by fans. That's the easy thing to say, right? Oh, if you have Jimmy, he's going to be lingering. That's going to concern. Trey's going to be just fine. This is his team. He knows he's the starter. Debo knows he's a starter. Kittle knows he's a starter. Ayuk knows he's a starter. Whether or not Jimmy's on this roster, if Trey struggles, we're always going to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, Jimmy would have made that play, or if Jimmy, he would have won that game. People are they're going to do that regardless.
Well, I mean, we did that with Alex Smith years later in every playoff game.
That's going to happen regardless, Shasky. So I wonder, man, is it the worst thing in the world? I know we've moved off of Jimmy Garoppolo.
I've emotionally turned the page.
Right.
And I feel like the team has. The fact that he hasn't gotten a playbook, don't you think that speaks volumes?
Yeah.
Even though most of the plays are going to be very comparable to what they've run over the last couple of years, even if some of the verbiage is a little different or maybe the variations on formations are slightly different. I feel like they're already changing. Like I feel like it's already happened. I wish we wouldn't even have this conversation. This feels very rhetorical.
It does. It does. But I watched Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld, and they played okay. They played all right. I don't get the hype around Purdy.
This is all about Trey Lance. Like if we agree,
Trey.
If Trey goes down for a long period of time, they're screwed kind of either way.
Yeah, I mean they are.
But
are you
slightly better with Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, I mean let's not forget they were 3-5 and the season felt like it was coming to a crashing end with Jimmy last year.
And they were 6 minutes away from advancing to the Super Bowl.
Well, they were also a half away from not making the playoffs outright.
They made it.
I know.
They made it, and they made some noise. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM, and HD1 San Francisco. I know your head's going to explode.
Well, no, always live on the free, thin.
Yeah, always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And don't forget, you can always watch us every day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on to search 95.7 The Game. 95.7 The Game,
Well,
of course, where you can follow us on YouTube. It's Twitch, and of course, the Comcast Business Text Line.
So, like, everybody keeps saying, like, what team can absorb, the $25 million that Jimmy's got, and he's going to have to restructure and blah, 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 when it comes to the money and how much money teams have left. What about this angle, which I haven't heard one person address? Clearly, the 49ers have some injury issues already when it comes to their offensive line. What about their ability to be flexible during the beginning of the season to absorb a contract that might otherwise not be absorbable with Jimmy Garoppolo on the contract? Again, this rarely happens because teams don't move offensive linemen, but offensive lineman X is available, and the 49ers clearly have a need in the interior and on the edge because of the right tackle situation with McGlinchey right now. We don't know how severe this is going to be, but what if they can't make a move because of Jimmy Garoppolo's salary, because it's so thin right now, that would be out there? Like, wouldn't you be very frustrated as a 49er fan hanging on to the backup quarterback and not helping the starters and bolstering the offensive line in that direction?
That is a great point. And I actually started to wonder when the Jets signed Dwayne Brown, because Becton is out for the season. They're a star left tackle. And they signed Dwayne Brown, a long-time Houston Texan, a long-time Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I was going to say Seahawk, yeah.
And I was like, damn, Dwayne Brown's a damn good tackle. And I'm like, can the 49ers use him at right tackle? He's out there.
I would use him in a heartbeat.
He was out there.
Especially with the McGlinchey injury.
The Jets pivoted and signed him right away. Now, knowing McGlinchey's injury history and knowing McKivitz, his ability, and knowing that you got 3 new offensive linemen,
wouldn't you want that flexibility? I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, as important as quarterback
but you know what? I don't know who's out there now as a lineman.
No, there's not much.
Tampa Bay needs linemen.
Well,
that's another team now that's in the conversation. Baltimore in the conversation for linemen. The Seattle Seahawks are starting 2 rookies at their tackle spots. 2 rookies. 1 rookie at left tackle, 1 rookie at right tackle.
The Niners are essentially starting 2 rookies, and Aaron Banks and Burford, and Brendel's not much far behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already got 3 guys with very limited. I mean, what are the total amount of snaps for those 3 in the NFL games?
So where's the depth going to come from? How can you really? Linemen are at a premium right now. So
and that's, I think, where I'm going with this is, as much as we're talking about Jimmy, and if there is a guy available, and I don't know who that person is, I'd be willing to flip a future pick to just bring a guy in at this point, because clearly offensive line is an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great to address this in the draft. It would have been great if Jimmy didn't have the surgery, so he could have moved off of him to maybe get another lineman. But Dwayne Brown's just sitting out there. I'm like, damn, the Niners could have used him on the offensive line. This happened a couple of weeks ago. So is that $25 million hindering the 49ers from making moves? They say it's not. They say it's not, but when you see $25 million just hanging there for a guy who's not even holding a clipboard, it does get a bit frustrating. So what's going to happen with Jimmy? You got the owner talking about, hey, I'd be happy to have Jimmy Garoppolo here. The owner's basically telling you, Jed York is basically telling everybody, he will be cool with Jimmy being the backup. I think John Lynch would be cool with Jimmy being the backup. Would Kyle Shanahan be okay with Jimmy being the backup? Look, I don't know what's happening with this situation, but the more time moves on, the Browns are telling you they don't want Jimmy. The Panthers are telling you they don't want Jimmy. Washington told you they don't want Jimmy.
Well,
the Colts did.
There were rumors that the Niners and Washington had a deal in place, but Jimmy got the surgery, and then they immediately pivoted to go get Wentz.
So that happened. He's gone. No option.
Well,
Matt Ryan is now a Colt. So are the 49ers just going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, the final roster cuts are Tuesday, August 30th.
Yes.
So 1 week and 1 day from today, you'll go from 80, essentially, if you haven't already made those cuts, down to 53. If he gets cut, it's got to be this week, right?
You would think.
Within this 8-day period.
8 days.
This has been the longest 6.5 months of all time.
I can't believe he's still on the roster. What are the Niners holding on to? Or what are they going to get for him if they do trade?
Are you more surprised he's still here, or were you more surprised Alex Smith was the starter in 2011 after everything that happened in 2010?
Boy, cue up to Tim Roy. That's a great question.
I'm equally stymied. I'm equally shocked in both scenarios, because in no way did I think that after walking off that field in 2010, Alex Smith was going to be the Niners starter come 2011.
I was surprised when Harbaugh gave him the playbook to work out of San Jose State. I was surprised about that. but I'm a little more surprised that Jimmy's on this roster.
Because they have the
Look.
already replacement in tow.
Yeah. We're 9 days away from September. And Jimmy Garoppolo still has his...
Your final roster is due
right.
in a week from now,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I am surprised. Probably more surprised that Jimmy's still on his roster.
Well, and we've talked about potential.
Especially after the presser. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But when he said it's been real Niner Nation,
I know,
whatever the hell
I
he
know.
said, I was like, okay, he's gone. They're going to make a trade.
See ya.
They'll flip him somewhere. And then he gets the surgery, and I'm like, oh, man, we were talking
I
about this.
know.
And I was like, boys, he can't throw a football until late July.
I know.
And you see him warming up, and he's like, oh, he's throwing the ball 30 yards. Oh, he's throwing the ball 40 yards. He's throwing lollipops 40 yards. Okay, in a game situation, to just step up, plant his foot, and rip it, Jimmy can't do that right now. Now I'm hearing reports that, hey, Jimmy, if he's on another team and he gets traded, he could start week 1. He'd be ready to go.
Porn star, Jimmy.
I don't believe that one iota.
Who was the kid that was in Tampa that got traded to Minnesota? Was it Freeman?
Josh Freeman.
And he started within like a 6 or 7 day span, and it was just a nightmare.
It was a disaster.
Was that Brad Childress as the coach up in Minnesota?
Maybe Brad Childress.
And they were forced to play him because
I remember
of like,
that. Yeah,
the circumstances.
Yeah, Josh Freeman.
Remember that?
He was like rookie. Wasn't he rookie of the year or something like that?
No, I loved him that
Out of
first
Kansas
year.
State?
Yeah, the first year in Tampa. Who was the coach that year? Raheem Morris?
Maybe Raheem. It probably was Raheem. Yeah, Raheem was down there for a minute. Who else was coaching Tampa after Raheem? Because you had Gruden, you had
Well,
Raheem.
yeah, Dirk Cutter.
Yeah,
Larry's boy.
Dirk Cutter, the overrated offensive coordinator / head coach at Arizona State.
Yeah.
Dirk Cutter was down in Tampa.
But I think when Jimmy got acquired by the Niners, I want to say it was 3 full weeks before he ended up being the starter. And even then, it was a limited, stripped-down playbook because he got traded. He didn't play that weekend, and then he came in at the very end because someone got hurt. I forget if it was C.J. Beathard or whoever got hurt. He threw that touchdown. Then they had a bye week, and then I think he started after the bye week.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I'm seeing some stuff on the chat here. Brock Purdy better than Trey Lance. A lot of people are high on Brock Purdy.
Sean Hill's
Are you
love
high
child.
on Brock Purdy? What's your thoughts on Brock Purdy?
Look, he's fine as a 3. As a 2, maybe one day, it makes sense. I don't think that day is today.
Yeah.
Eventually, when you watch him in practice, Bonte, when you watch him in practice, I see what people see in him, but then I see the physical limitations, and I go, he cannot be someone that is trusted for more than a couple of weeks at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
As an NFL starter.
I got you. By the way, Greg Schiano, Tampa Bay.
Greg Schiano
That's right.
from Rutgers.
Yeah.
Fighting people.
Fighting people and kneeling and hitting people.
How about when they were going to do the kneel down and his guys jumped over the top?
Exactly. Yeah,
Greg Schiano. That's
Greg
Belichick's
Schiano.
boy.
Yeah, that is Belichick's
Wow.
boy.
When you say Schiano, I think of Brian Leonard, the white running back that came
from
out of there.
Rutgers, yes.
You know I know my white running backs.
They had some dudes. Mohamed
They
Sanu.
did.
Mohamed Sanu is at
You know
Rutgers.
he was
Anthony
running a
Davis.
faulty program.
There's no doubt about that. What's coming up in the game sponsored by BMW Fairfield. More about the 49ers.
Mainlining football.
Yeah, more about the 49ers. And then I want to ask you about your 12-year anniversary. We're going to do that. And plus, we're giving away a gift card. We're giving away a gift card in 18 minutes. We'll explain on the other side. Brought to you by BMW Fairfield, now open in the Fairfield Auto Mall. They provide a luxurious, all-encompassing experience to address all of your BMW needs. Visit BMWFairfield.com today to book your visit. That's BMWFairfield.com.